Hello and welcome to You'll Probably Agree. I have David J. Fowley from KeepingItReal.com, a member of the Chicago Film Critics Association. And did I fuck anything up?
No, you're good so far.
Good. And I'm going to have to bleep that because YouTube doesn't like it when you swear. But anyways, today is a very therapeutic day.
Okay.
Because we're talking about the 20th anniversary of Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace.
I feel old.
I mean, I do too.
Yeah.
So it was definitely a strange experience for me, but before I unload all of my psychological baggage,
I'm here for you.
Yeah. What was your experience seeing the movie, and then maybe before when you were hearing about the film, when the film came out, when you saw it, and then was there a moment where it had to sink in for you, where maybe you realized it wasn't that good? What was your experience with it? Because it's a very strange experience. It's a very average movie. Yeah.
I disagree. I think it's not an average movie. I think hindsight gives us kind of a perspective that there's more to appreciate about the movie than maybe we have thought within the past 20 years. Now, I didn't feel that on opening day. I remember I had tickets. I had tickets at McClurg Court in the morning.
Yeah.
And I had tickets in the suburbs in the afternoon.
Yeah.
So I was already planning on seeing it twice that day on opening day.
Yeah.
And I remember being in line across around McClurg Court, and they even WGN even had me on the news. I think it was Art Norman, maybe.
Do you have a clip of that?
I don't know. It could be somewhere. But they were going around asking people, why are you in line for Star Wars? What does it mean? What does Star Wars mean to you? And you have to understand, it's like for somebody like me who grew up on, in the 70s and 80s.
You were there when the OG Star Wars came out.
To have another Star Wars movie was huge. We didn't know what was in store for us. All I knew is that we're, going to learn the story of Anakin Skywalker. There was going to be young Obi-Wan. Sure, I'm all for it.
Right.
And yes, there was trailers leading up to it, but this is before the 24/7 internet coverage. It was 1999.
Yeah.
I think leading up to it, USA Today in the Life section had Phantom Menace snippets as much as possible almost every day. Whatever news came out, I was picking up the USA Today and reading about it. So people weren't. There weren't a whole lot of spoilers stuff and everything going on. It was just there was anticipation in the air, and then everybody saw the movie, and there's a lot of things that I understand people have issues with. I even had issues with when after I was off the high of watching it for the first time in the morning.
Yeah.
Later on, as I was approaching the afternoon showing that I was already paid for, I was like.
Because nobody saw it once. Yeah.
Yeah. People, continued to see it multiple times in the theaters, but it was there was kind of diminishing returns initially. I understand the multiple problems people have with the movie. You have a general. There's the screenplay, and then there's the dialogue.
Yeah. Yes.
Those
are two major issues. Yes.
And I know that I wasn't prepared for Jar Jar to be kind of annoying.
Yeah.
But then later on, I just looked at the positive. We have Darth Maul. We have Jedi. We have more Jedi Knights than we ever had exposure to. We had a Jedi Council. We had we're going back to basically opening up, expanding the Star Wars universe more so than we ever saw. We have cool designs, we have cool ships, we have, so I was looking at all that instead of, the dialogue and everything, So it, initially I was just pretty awestruck. And then later on I was like, oh, I gotta watch this again and deal with Jar Jar and those Nemodians. But hey, and we'll talk a little bit more in detail, but I have more appreciation for it now for a variety of reasons.
Yeah. See, my experience was, it was strange. I was a 13-year-old kid.
Okay.
So I grew up with it, and I remember I saw the original Star Wars movies, on the VHS tapes in their original form, the non-special edition forms,
good.
At my grandparents' place. So I remember when they announced the movie, and they had that article from Variety.com come out about it. Mm-hmm. And then I'm still curious, what's this movie going to be?
Right.
So the first trailer finally comes out. And this was in the infancy of the internet. This is like 1999.
Right.
And I remember it took 2 hours to get that trailer to stream. And every single minute, I would just get another little frame. And I was just enticed completely because that trailer was phenomenal. Because the great thing about that trailer is whatever movie everyone built up in their heads, since it was rumored after 1983, since Return of the Jedi, what would Star Wars be? We kind of had this movie built in our heads.
Right.
Whether it looked like the sort of new films that Disney's making, where it's a callback, or if it's something totally different. And I think that trailer shattered everyone's expectations.
Yeah.
Because we saw these completely unique worlds. We saw Naboo that looked like Venice. You saw a little bit of Coruscant that looked like Metropolis. And back then, movies didn't have that much CGI in them, and this entire film was CGI. So back then it was stunning, and we're thinking, oh my God, people would pay tickets to see a movie just to see the trailer.
And then leave.
Yeah, and then walk out.
Yeah.
So I remember I kind of came to terms with accepting I'm probably not going to see this film. And I remember watching a report on the local, Fox 12 in Chicago, where, they're talking to George Lucas, they're showing the merchandising and all that. And every news report had this very strange sort of vibe from the news reporters, where they're like, I got to see the movie, and, it was okay, but the special effects are really good. And it's like, what is that? But I kind of blocked it out of my head.
Yeah.
So my dad calls me one day when I'm at my local recreation center for all the kids around the area. And he tells me he got me Star Wars tickets.
Okay.
And I was shocked. I'm like, I thought I wouldn't be able to see this movie for a month. So I go in, I see the movie. It's surprisingly empty in the theater that I went into.
Had it already been out for a while?
No, this was the
Opening
day.
weekend?
This was the
Opening
Wednesday that it came out.
And there was nobody in the theater?
It was 50-50 kind of, It was just somewhat filled up. I don't know if the theater wasn't doing well.
Just a small
or
town or what?
Yeah, I grew up in a suburb in the Northwest, and the theater I went to, it's gone now, but it was called River Tree Court.
Okay.
And we saw the movie, and I remember it was kind of a silent screening. No one really reacted to anything. And I left, and I remember I saw that movie 7 more times.
In the theater?
Yeah.
Wow, okay.
And every time I would always ask people, what did you think of the movie? What did you think of the movie? Even when I'm not at the film, I would just randomly bring it up.
Right.
And I didn't know why, but I always wanted people to tell me that they liked it. And then...
Because you didn't?
Yeah, because I couldn't come to terms that I didn't. I couldn't come to terms with myself that I didn't. So then I had this horrible, embarrassing moment. This is completely true, and I don't remember the name of the kid anymore, but we were watching the movie. This is probably my last viewing of seeing it, and I said to him, while the movie's starting, while Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan are in the Trade Federation's ship.
Okay.
I said, what do you think of the movie? He's like, I don't know, it just started.
You were talking to him during the movie?
Yeah.
Oh, jeez. I would have separated myself.
Yeah. So then at the end of the movie, I asked him, what do you think of it? He said he didn't like it, and I don't know why. I pushed him, and he pushed me back, and we got into a fight.
That's right. You were, 13?
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
So they separated. Yeah, I was 13 years old. I wasn't a grown man doing this. That would be really
But
bad.
you still had the beard.
It was more like one of those prepubescent mustaches. Yeah. like I was just getting hair on my pubes.
Oh boy.
So yeah, we got in this fight, and then my friends were berating me like, "Why'd you do this?" And I didn't understand why. I just kind of put my head down, and then I realized years later that was the first time in my life that I realized, and this is maybe overly dramatic and insane, and this is like me sitting on the therapy couch, but
Right now?
yeah,
Okay.
it was me kind of coming to terms with that not everything in life is guaranteed to be awesome or
Yeah.
great.
Mm-hmm.
That it was sort of my introduction to the emotion of doubt. And I think a lot of people might have grown up with that emotion where you realize, like, it's not only Star Wars, but anything. Like, a marriage could be disappointing, a car you bought could be disappointing, what have you.
Sure.
So-
A book, whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this movie could not live up to any expectations.
Yeah.
There's just no way.
Yeah.
I mean, Lucas was just coming off of releasing, not re-releasing, but releasing the special editions.
Yeah.
And
Where
those
he
were
still
huge.
fails to release the original versions.
Well, yeah, there's that. But those were huge
Yeah.
in the theater.
Yeah, I saw them in the theater too.
Yeah. So coming off of that, and during that time, he always had, or he had in mind to create these prequels, and
Yeah.
I don't think he even realized how there would be no way to live up to fan expectations or audience expectations.
Yeah.
But really, what did we expect?
Yeah.
You know, I think that because we grew up in the original trilogy, I think we forget that he originally had in mind for this storyline to
Yeah.
be like a fairy tale. This
Yeah.
isn't science fiction. This is space opera.
Yes.
Space
As
fantasy.
he's stated
space
many
opera,
times.
you know?
Yeah.
And so I think we forget, you know, when A New Hope came out, I was 5 years old. And back then, movies would get re-released all
Yeah.
the time. So almost every summer, A New Hope would come out up until 1980 when Empire Strikes Back came out. So
Yeah.
it's like, you would have more people seeing it all the time and rediscovering it. And, you know, after the original trilogy came out, there was this drought. There was expanded universe in books and comics and stuff, role-playing
Yeah.
games, whatever.
Yeah.
But there was this drought. And so anticipation built. There was always, is there ever going to be, you know, movies? If anything, people thought maybe, episodes 7, 8, 9, but now we get these prequels. So there's just, there's expectations that Lucas could not possibly live up to.
Yeah.
But what I appreciate now, and in hindsight, is that he stuck to his vision.
Yep.
He's not good necessarily at writing dialogue for people.
Yeah.
But as far as world building,
Yeah.
universe building, he's great at that. I mean, it's design work and overall theme, creating that kind of atmosphere. I mean, there's no one like him. And then for him to basically, he's the godfather of ILM, and for
Yeah.
him to utilize ILM and the designers that he used and the costumes, the production
Mocap
design.
that was like
Yeah.
that was the introduction of mocap
Yeah,
in a way.
yeah. I mean, you look at creatures like Watto, this
Yeah.
this flying like basically like duck creature. Looks kind of like Gonzo from the Muppets. Those introducing like Ahmed Best as Jar Jar, introducing these characters that like he couldn't do back in the 80s.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of groundbreaking things about
Yeah.
Phantom Menace that people forget.
I think you're absolutely right in terms of world building, in terms of the sort of like he did create something different. He didn't just make the same movie.
No.
And that was something that was wonderful about these prequel films that I think were encompassed in the trailers, but then you see the movie and everything about making a movie was not in that film. Like, not only the acting, not only the dialogue, but the structure, the pacing, the overall story. There's no emotional investment in Anakin. By the time we get to episode 3, we're not heartbroken that he turned. We're just kind
Sure.
of happy that we reached that point where he finally kills people.
Sure, but
Yeah.
we're talking about one movie right
Yeah,
now.
but
not
we're
the
talking
overall
about
prequels.
but the Phantom Menace.
Phantom
yes.
Menace. So I'm not gonna nitpick
Yeah.
a child actor.
Oh no, I would
Jake-
never do that.
Jake
yeah.
Lloyd was
It's horrible what happened to him.
It's
Yeah.
horrible what happened to him, and I personally believe he was kind of miscast.
Yeah.
But I'm not gonna lambaste the poor kid.
Yeah. And George
you know.
Lucas knew people wouldn't like it when he cast him because, like, I remember that Variety article.
Yeah.
And he said many times that, you know, people aren't gonna like that this movie's about a little kid, but I don't care. You know?
Well, I compare like the casting of something like E.T. Where you
Yeah.
have child actors who are really good.
yeah,
You know,
exactly.
and I'm not going to criticize child acting that isn't that good because they're children.
Exactly.
And I think that
He's
falls
9 years old.
That falls.
He's 9 years old.
Yeah, and
You
that
know?
falls on the responsibility of the casting director and
Yeah.
the director. Is like you found a kid who was okay, not good or great, and if we're gonna follow the Anakin Skywalker story over 3 movies,
Yeah.
and we're gonna start off with him at such a young age,
Yeah.
he needs to be great.
Yeah.
So that was problematic, but the thing is, I think there's some really good performances in Phantom Menace, and I think if we look at the prequel trilogy overall,
Yeah.
there's 2 MVPs for those 3 movies, and that's Ewan McGregor and
Yep.
Ian McDiarmid.
Yep.
Throughout all 3 movies.
Americans can't act. I'm kidding. It's a joke. Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
are there Americans in? I guess there are Americans in Phantom Menace, but they are the highlight of the trilogy, and
Yeah.
I think that they are the highlight here. And I think McGregor as Obi-Wan was phenomenal.
He's great. He had so
Even-
little to work with, but he made it work.
Well, that's
You know?
the thing is, I think he was convincing at embodying
Yeah.
a young Alec Guinness, if you will.
Mhm.
Even getting the voice right, the cadence
Yeah.
of the performance, and I think I liked the dynamic between him and Neeson's Qui-Gon Jinn.
Yeah.
I like seeing them together. I like their master and apprentice dynamic. I think they were really good together. Yeah, I agree. Overall, the story of like trade federations and embargoes and all this
Yeah,
stuff,
yeah.
I didn't really care about any of that, and I thought it really odd to get like, you know, policies and politics as the foundation of, you know, kind of the story, especially when it's called Phantom Menace, and we only really see this menace kind of barely developing
Like
throughout
maybe
the
in
movie.
like 2 scenes or something like that. You know?
Yeah, it's just
And we know already who the Phantom Menace is ultimately in the
well,
end.
see,
Yeah.
that is one of the problems of doing a prequel trilogy or a prequel
Yeah,
movie.
you know
It's like,
everything.
you know how these characters end up.
So, the
So
screen-
are
yeah.
they going to be in true peril? No, and it's the only characters who are in true peril are the ones that are introduced
Yeah.
in this movie that are not in the other movies.
Yeah.
You know, Qui-Gon Jinn and Darth Maul. Of course, you know, both of those.
Well, he's okay now. He got
Both-
some robot legs. You know,
Both
he's fine.
both of those characters, although Qui-Gon is dead, both of those characters do wind up.
No
in
one's
the,
ever
in the-
really
in
gone.
the Clone Wars animated
Yeah.
series. But yeah, I mean, I still have a great appreciation for Neeson's performance. And
I don't know, like he did what he could with it. I mean, he was just kind of, he sounded bored, but then again, his dialogue was just kind of that.
well, you know, I'm sure it was hard to work alongside a lot of CGI.
Yeah, a lot of
yeah.
blank green screen
Right.
backgrounds.
But
yeah.
I really liked how a lot of his performance was internal. You know, he had to weigh out the situation. You know, even some of his lines like, you know, feel, don't think. A lot of it was internal, like the way he dealt with. He patiently dealt with Obi-Wan, even when Obi-Wan was questioning his actions. You know, and he was the only one who believed in Anakin as this chosen one,
Yeah.
and he could have been wrong, you know, but he had this gut instinct, and I like the way that they portrayed him as this kind of like a bit of a rebel of a Jedi Knight, where he kind of went against the wishes of the Jedi Council.
Yeah.
You get the idea that he's done that in the past.
Yeah.
And bringing this young child to the Jedi Council is just kind of like a no-no, but he still had this gut instinct.
It would have been interesting if they developed that a little more.
Sure.
You know,
sure.
Because we just kind of get that he wants to train Anakin because he sees potential in him as his chosen one, but then we don't see why, as a person, he's going out of his way to do this.
Right. There's this legend of a chosen one who will bring balance to the Force.
Yeah.
And for some reason, Qui-Gon totally believes that this is the kid. If that was more developed on Tatooine, that would be great. If it was more than just the midichlorian count, if it was more than just like this virgin birth, that would have been interesting.
Yeah.
You know, again, it goes to, I think, you know, Lucas is more concerned with the overall, story, and not the particulars and details of the story.
It's as Ed Wood said, you know, it's not about the little details; it's about the big picture.
And the big picture in this case is really good to look at.
Yeah,
you know?
exactly.
I mean,
you know, in the big picture, I will say it's visionary still.
Yeah.
It's like I think one thing that's missing from the sequel trilogy, especially with Rian Johnson's film, where they say, "Oh, it's different." It's like, no, he just changed some things, but he echoed the same themes. You know, these movies felt different. That's why we were so blown away when we saw that initial footage of it.
Right.
I feel kind of missing in these new films because Lucas has adamantly said, "I didn't want to make the same movie,"
and he didn't.
Yeah.
When I was recently at the Star Wars Celebration here in Chicago, there was the last day on Monday. They had a whole panel presentation of the 20th anniversary.
Yeah.
And they brought out, 4 of the actors: Anthony Daniels, Ahmed Best, Ian McDiarmid, and Ray Park. Warwick Davis was hosting the event. But before that, they brought out 4 of the designers as well to talk about the look of the film. But before even that, the whole kind of like arena went black, and then they showed the original trilogy. And they showed the original trailer of Phantom Menace. They showed the original trailer.
Wow.
So it was so cool to see on a big screen in an arena of fans the original trailer for Phantom Menace, and it made you, talking about the trailer, how it doesn't really give much away because you don't know what to expect.
Yeah.
But looking
you
at
see
it,
this whole world though.
Looking at it in hindsight, I was taken back to like when I first saw it, and it's still a very good trailer. You have the Duel of the Fates theme from John Williams, and you don't know how it's all going to play out. Mm-hmm. You see this red face tattooed horned being. You don't know what that's all about. You just know that he has a red lightsaber.
You hear,
so he's bad.
When they're talking about Anakin, he's this prophecy, and then
Samuel
Yoda
Jackson
saying that this fear leads to the dark side, fear leads to anger, anger leads to hate, hate leads to suffering. Yeah. And you're going, what?
Yeah, it's really interesting.
This is happening. Like, oh my God, this movie's gonna happen.
Yeah,
it brings you back to that time.
Right. It's a good-looking trailer. It pulls you in. It opens up in that foggy, like Gungan,
Yes.
And so it was cool to be a part of that again. And I know that the movie has gotten, just basically, poo-pooed on.
Yeah, it's been through the mill.
Yeah. And you can make fun of Jar Jar all you want, and I know even when that movie came out, Lucas had said that Jar Jar was one of his favorite characters, and he said that again in a video message on that.
I wonder if he's just saying that as like a fuck you to everyone.
Maybe, I don't know, but he said when Phantom Menace came out that this movie is basically for kids. I mean, look at the pod race. You have a
movie for kids with trade embargoes.
Well, no. Well, kids gloss over that. As soon as Jar Jar comes into the picture, they're like, "Oh, Misa this, Misa that, Yusa." And it's fun. Like I showed Phantom Menace for the first time to my 12-year-old daughter recently.
Yeah.
And I was like, she's kind of into Star Wars, but I'm like, look, just sit down and watch Phantom Menace. Let me see what you think. We watched it the whole way through. I was kind of looking at her here and there to see what her reaction is. At the end, I'm like, so who's your favorite character? She said, Jar Jar Binks. And I'm like, look, it goes back to what Lucas was saying.
I never minded Jar Jar as a kid, actually.
It goes back to what Lucas is saying: is these movies are for kids.
Yeah.
And I don't necessarily.
I don't know if I entirely agree with that sentiment because Episode 3 features a man being burned alive.
Again, we're talking about Episode 1.
Okay, yeah. So that movie is for kids.
Yeah. And I understand that because it's mainly focused on a young boy.
Yeah.
And here's this kid who's talented, resourceful. He makes his own podcast, and we get the whole yippee, it's working. And it's like, look, this is look at the pod race. Look at the comedy with the two-headed announcer and everything. It's.
You would think that after, 15 years, like he wouldn't want to make a movie for kids, and I think that's where the disappointment sank in for a lot of fans. Because they were just like, I grew up with this. Now you're treating it like it's some kind of joke.
Yeah, I mean,
now that sort of sentiment's being echoed with The Last Jedi, and it has that factor. But it's funny when you mention Star Wars convention.
Yeah.
Because it feels a little bit like a healing process now.
Well, it did because I was excited as a Star Wars fan to attend.
Yeah.
I wasn't going to pass it up because it's in Chicago for the first time.
Yeah.
Star Wars Celebration's been around for like 20 years.
Yeah.
This is the first time in Chicago, so I couldn't pass it up.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I thought that was just manufactured by Disney.
Well, the first one was in Denver, Colorado, in a rainy airport hangar, and that was in anticipation. It was in '99 in anticipation of Phantom Menace. It hadn't come out yet.
Yeah.
So I wasn't going to pass it up. But the thing is, with these new movies, there's been a lot of vitriol online.
Yeah.
How, and even before that, there's been this there's that documentary, The People versus George Lucas. There's been a lot of animosity towards Lucas, and I think it's wrongheaded. I don't think it's right.
There is a whole video I did about have fans been too hard on George Lucas, and I'm certainly one of them. I wrote a screenplay right before the Disney buyout of Star Wars where it was like Misery, where this woman captures George Lucas and forces him to remake the prequels.
Wow. Was that catharsis for you?
Yeah.
Kind of like this. I mean, I understand, and there was even a period where I was a little bit mad at George Lucas, but I got over that pretty quickly because I'm like, you know what? This is a guy who's following his vision. He was an independent filmmaker who happened to create this huge blockbuster. Nobody knew that while making A New Hope.
Yeah.
How could we be mad about how all of this, turned out? Again, he's not in control of our expectations. He's not in control of our reactions to the movies that he's making. Yeah. He's staying true to his vision, whether we like his vision or not. And if you look at Phantom Menace in and of itself, and if we look at Phantom Menace out of all the prequel movies, I see more problems with the other, with especially Attack of the Clones, than I do Phantom Menace. And
Attack of the Clones is almost unwatchable. It's just boring.
I recently watched the first 20 minutes of it, and I think it's beautiful to look at. Some of the scenes and Coruscant and everything, but ultimately there's some really bad dialogue. There's some bad development as far as character development.
Just right off the bat with the assassination. I'm so sorry.
It's just and Hayden Christensen. It's another bad miscast.
He was so bad at acting, they had to, because I was playing the Revenge of the Sith, the video game, and it's actually really good. The lightsaber fighting in it is, but they had to match how bored he sounded in the voice acting in the game. So it's you shouldn't do that, Master. Look at this scrap metal.
And
poor guy.
It makes me appreciate the work that the voice actors did on the Clone Wars series because they were, at least I think it's Matt Lanter who played Anakin Skywalker. He did a better job, I think, than Hayden Christensen. Hayden Christensen wound up making some other good movies like Shattered Glass.
That was great.
Life as a House. There's some other good movies in and around the prequels, but man, when it came back to, I don't know whether it was being directed by Lucas or reciting that dialogue, you appreciate a lot more McGregor's work in it than Christensen.
Well, you actually feel heartbroken for him in Episode 3 when he's saying you're the chosen one, because we actually care about Obi-Wan because of McGregor's performance.
Yeah.
Everybody else, you're just kind of like, all right. But but it's funny when we're mentioning Star Wars convention and how it's therapeutic. It's weird because first Star Wars convention, via when Force Awakens was being announced and everything, that was kind of like they took everything that was prequel related and put it to the side.
Yeah.
Like if you remember that one behind the scenes video, they start out with Mark Hamill saying real sets, practical effects.
Yeah.
It's like you get the hidden connotation there,
Sure.
And then the next year they bring out George Lucas and Hayden Christensen, and they get an applause. And now this year they bring back Ahmed Best with a trailer of the Phantom Menace and a big picture of Jar Jar Binks. In a way, it's I think as time moves on, time heals.
Well,
and
yeah,
it's sort of Disney obviously systematically planned this out, where I think now that the prequels are considered nostalgia, there's a lot of people who like those films.
Sure.
Like Lucas said they would.
At the same time, I have a hard time believing that in 3 years, when the 20th anniversary of Attack the Clones come out, that we're going to have the same response that this recent, basically this recent celebration of the Phantom Menace 20th anniversary has. I mean, I think
because Phantom Menace was the first of the prequels, and then you got the middle child.
Yeah, and I think there's more of an appreciation, despite the derision over the years of Phantom Menace, than there is Attack the Clones. I think it's funny. I look at the original trilogy as like an upside down V, with the Empire Strikes Back being the best movie, and I look at this one as an actual V, where Attack of the Clones is probably at the bottom. With Phantom Menace and Revenge of the Sith being the better movies. Obviously, Revenge of the Sith is probably the better prequel movie out of the three, but there's definitely a fondness, like you said, a nostalgia for Phantom Menace and appreciation. And I think one of the reasons why Ahmed Best got a standing ovation when he came out on stage.
He went through so much shit.
Well, yeah, especially, and I think fans, hopefully, they got over themselves and looked in the mirror a little bit and realized that, what? Why should we be making fun of or giving the actor a hard time?
Yeah, it wasn't. He didn't write it.
Just because he's portraying this.
He just did a job, and he did a good job. Like, he can't help it. That's how George wrote him.
Yeah, I mean, you can't be mad at the actor for that.
Yeah,
and I think that if you look at the performance, motion capture, or however you want to view it.
Yeah,
it's a good performance.
Andy Serkis,
and it's a good performance. I mean, he did a good job. And so I don't know.
I want to see his one-man show, like, real bad.
Cool.
I've been watching his vlogs.
Yeah,
it's fascinating, just the stuff he says, just like how much baggage he's unloading. Because I'm in a misery porn, and no, but it was fascinating to hear, because you're like, why did people attack this guy? And there's, I think, a certain cadence.
Again, expectations.
Yeah.
There's
a cadence that comes to being a Star Wars fan, and it has to do with having things from your childhood being lived up to and then kind of destroyed. And they over dramatize it, and I have over dramatized it. And now, I guess having said that, how do you think Disney's handled the new films?
When Disney bought over Lucasfilm, and when George signed off everything to Kathleen Kennedy and essentially Disney, I had no problem with it. I think it's like, if you're going to do that, then that's if there's going to be future Star Wars movies and Lucas is done with it, then I think Disney is a good place to do it. And I've had no problems with. All right, well, as far as continuing the Skywalker saga, I've had no problems with Force Awakens or Last Jedi.
Yeah.
Where I have a problem with is how they're trying to expand. They made 2 attempts with Rogue One and Solo.
Yeah.
I feel like with the first one, Rogue One, I don't think that they separated themselves enough from the Skywalker saga. That movie should have ended when that whole mission was accomplished and everything exploded.
Yeah.
But they had to tag on that what everybody thinks is a cool Darth Vader scene. Which basically synced it up right to minutes before A New Hope. So then we have episode 3.5. which
Yeah.
was not supposed to be what these spin-off or offshoot movies were supposed to be. They were supposed to expand the Star Wars universe.
Yeah.
Solo was doing that a little bit, but that's still you're focusing on a familiar character. Like you know how he ends up. So they still, to me, haven't given us a kind of one-off Star Wars story outside the Skywalker Saga.
Yeah.
And they may be doing that with an Old Republic trilogy.
Now that I would love to see.
From the Game of Thrones guys. And if they're still letting Rian Johnson do a trilogy, his own trilogy.
I don't know if they will or won't.
I don't know.
Like, especially with the vibes I got from that Episode 9 trailer, it felt like they were kind of retconning it in a way.
Maybe they are.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. We'll see. I know Rian Johnson's really happy with the Episode 9 trailer, and
well, he's not gonna say anything bad. But.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he did his version of he did his vision of continuing the Skywalker saga. My only real problems with Last Jedi was the kind of in the third act, that whole bit on Canto Bight, the casino planet thing.
Oh yeah,
I thought that was just way too long.
The side quest.
Yeah, it's like, come on, time is a factor here. But I had no problem. I think it's one of Mark Hamill's best performances.
He was great.
He was fantastic. So, I kind of agree with Mark Hamill. Yes, it would have been great for all three of the actors to have a scene together, to be together, but it didn't pan out.
Yeah, it's when I think of how Disney handled the new trilogy, I wish they gave Michael Arndt, the original screenwriter who wrote Little Miss Sunshine and Toy Story 3, the time to really develop that Episode 7 screenplay.
Force Awakens.
Yeah. But the problem is that
they were on
Disney
schedule.
wants their money. They gotta please their shareholders, so they said get it out quick.
Yeah.
And I have two different opinions. This is another video that I detailed about it, which is Episode 7 as a soft reboot, which it needed.
Yeah.
Was great. It reminded us why we love Star Wars.
Yeah, it got a good performance out of Harrison Ford.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But then as a sequel that we've envisioned since like you said, anticipation since 1983.
Yeah.
We get kind of this lazy film that just is a soft reboot. And you know what? I'm perfectly okay with Force Awakens did, and I was excited to see where Last Jedi would build upon the foundation. I just felt that I didn't have much of an emotional connection to the First Order or to the Resistance.
No.
Because
it's something we've seen before with the Imperials and the Rebels. It's just now First Order and Resistance.
Yeah.
I didn't care too much about that because you knew that there was going to be some similarities to a kind of like a similar skeleton to those other movies. What resonated with me the most was about Force Awakens was the portrayal of Solo and Leia, because we always wanted to see where Luke, Han, and Leia and Chewie, where they were going to wind up.
What happened in their lives,
after Return of the
got
Jedi.
rid of the expanded universe, and they had to because
right.
I know that's a controversial opinion, but they had to get rid of the expanded universe because you know how much material you'd have to shift through to write these.
If you do make the movies out of the expanded universe, then people are just going to say, "Oh, you're just making adaptations of these books." So you got to make it a little bit different.
Or they nitpick like everything they missed, or
But I think what resonated the most with me with those characters, and I liked all the new characters, but with those characters, I liked the fact that here we're seeing these what we deem to be heroes from our youth.
Yeah.
There's some nostalgia now. What we deemed as heroes, I guess what I see them as now is almost like a kind of like a portrayal of. You look at your own life now, and you realize that like sometimes life doesn't pan out the way you had hoped it would be.
Absolutely.
And that's what I saw in Han and Leia, and I thought that was a really. It wasn't heavy-handed at all. There were some subtleties that I really appreciated. It's like, you know what, we can be heroes for a little bit in our lives, but sometimes
time moves on.
Things just don't pan out the way you had hoped, and their child is now an adult, and he's kind of a mess, and they only had so much. There was only so much that they could do, and I really like the way that those characters were written.
Yeah.
That, you know what, they still had to come back together and try and do what they could.
Yeah.
And I like that these new characters like Rey and Finn and Poe were able to kind of help these older characters actually do something, you know.
Yeah.
There's still something we could do, you know. And so I really appreciate it. It was unexpected for me to see where those characters landed, and it resonated with me in when I look at my own life and how, you know, sometimes things just don't pan out the way you want them to be.
I think that's a wonderful point, and you know, I never quite thought of that actually, where the arc between Han and Leia, you know, you expect them to be happy forever, and they're not.
Kids like the expanded universe,
you know?
But no, you know, and where do we find Han? Him and Chewie are.
They're doing the same
shit
went back, that they did.
Yeah, like, went back to smuggling. They went back to what they knew, and a lot of that is due to grief.
Yeah.
You know, because of the way his son turned out. And what did Leia do? Went back to doing what she formed a resistance because the system failed her son in a way. Yeah. We don't know. We can build those blocks together. And everybody made a big deal about Luke basically like regressing and kind of licking his wounds on his own. But I think people forget that this is how a lot of people deal with grief.
Yeah.
You know, and the grief is that, you know, I messed up. I failed my nephew.
Yeah.
You know, and I really appreciate how the writers are depicting these characters that we've cherished, you know, and given us this kind of like almost realistic, you know, updated
viewpoint out of it.
Yeah.
In a way, it's sort of meta. It's like the fans, like, hey, these movies aren't going to live up to exactly what you want.
Yeah.
And you have to accept them for the way they are.
Yeah. And that's, you know, going back to Phantom Menace, we can't.
Yeah.
You know, our expectations are not going to be met. You know, I mean, you know, watching it again, like I said, I have an appreciation for the way the movie looks. I have appreciation for certain performances, but I'm not going to nitpick and criticize this movie just because it didn't maybe meet what I wanted it to.
It wasn't the movie you put in your head. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you know that's the thing. When I go to Force Awakens, I was perfectly happy with it. Last Jedi, the thing was, it didn't create the emotional arc I wanted, and that's because that was the movie I put in my head. I want to know who the First Order was and the Resistance, because even with the very first Star Wars, and they didn't explain who these guys were, you understood in frame one, like, okay, some shit went down.
Yeah.
And here's these bad guys and these rebels, but now you're like, why are these rebels when they won?
Yeah.
You know. And then these movies kind of undermined everything because, like, in Force Awakens, they already destroyed a planet-sized Death Star, and then the second film they killed their Emperor, you know.
Which I mean, those are some of the things
that
I like.
I was fine with him dying. Yeah.
Yeah, because they weren't doing anything with that character anyway.
Yeah, exactly. Like he was just kind of written in there, and then Bryan Johnson's like.
Well, he subverted our expectations,
you know,
which was he subverted our expectations, which I appreciate.
Yeah.
A lot of people have problems with some of the humor in Last Jedi.
That's the problem I had with it, though.
I had no problem with it because
that was a 20-year build-up to Luke Skywalker, and then he throws away the lightsaber.
Well, there's that humor, but there's also the humor that Poe Dameron has with when even in the beginning when he's like kind of like pretending that he can't hear.
Oh, the Your Mama joke?
Yeah.
Nah, you can't put in a Your Mama joke. That's going a little too far.
Again,
I get that, Ryan Johnson saying, hey, we gotta...
He's doing something different, which I'm not gonna, discredit that.
But this different isn't always necessarily good, in my opinion. And I think that the Last Jedi, it had a problem with pacing, with the film particularly. I wanted to focus more on Rey and Kylo Ren. And I was okay with Luke Skywalker being a recluse because characters do change and things do change.
Yeah. I mean, Obi-Wan was a recluse.
Yeah. It's just that exactly. And the thing is, though, is that the movie, everyone starts in a certain position in that film and they end in that same position. And you don't really get the impact that they've been battered by the First Order.
I don't know. I mean, I disagree with that. I mean, you look at where Rey is when Last Jedi starts and where she ends up at the end of Last Jedi. I mean, there's some
She's still
growth.
defending the, Resistance, though, and like maybe Luke wasn't what she thought he would be, but he still ended up doing something heroic for her.
But I mean, she comes into her own as far as her powers and everything.
Yeah, well, she was already overpowered, but
she didn't know that. She didn't know how to wield it, and she didn't really accept
that's true.
where she was at, or
that's
realize what she had.
I just didn't feel any of the emotional stakes in it. I felt like it was an episode from a Netflix series, because the whole plot was just about one ship chasing another. And I kind of wanted it to fit this overall arc.
Yeah, I get that.
And it's like the problem I have with the sequel trilogy is it feels like it's not really part of the Star Wars anthology. It just feels like they were made to make money, which they were, and it's obvious on screen.
Going back to your question about how do I feel that Disney has handled it, I guess the one thing that one problem I have with how Disney has handled these sequel trilogies is the fact that they didn't map out these episodes.
Yeah, they didn't at all.
And they're basically
they didn't give Michael Lawrence the time.
They're basically taking movie after movie and coming up with, basically they don't have everything written out.
It feels like they're putting out their own fires.
Yeah.
Because like after The Force Awakens, everyone's saying, "Oh, it's the same bullshit." So then Rian Johnson comes in, and they're like, "Write whatever you want.
Yeah.
Put it in."
And now we're expecting J.J. Abrams
to come and fix it. Like, "Oh no, Skywalker's in the title. The Emperor's laughing. Come on, guys!" Like,
I'm on board. You never know. It looks Rise of Skywalker looks pretty epic, and it'll be very interesting to see how they close out supposedly this saga. The only thing
it's not gonna close out.
the only thing is, Abrams is known for leaving. You look at the TV show Lost. Yeah, Abrams is known for just kind of like leaving things, undealt with and open. So who knows?
And people want to see this movie as sort of a resolution.
Maybe, yeah.
And then
yeah.
That's not gonna happen. But having said that, I think over time, fans have accepted the prequels. I don't think there's as much embitterment. We've had entire YouTube channels like Red Letter Media get created, which I actually love their channel.
Mm-hmm.
Because they did a 90-minute, overly nitpicky, admittedly, in-depth review of each of these films.
Right.
But
to me, there's still a lot to appreciate through for all of the prequel films when you look at them as a whole.
In a broader sense, yes. Yeah.
And just they're still very absorbing to me and I could get lost in I would say 80% of all three movies. But if you look at each movie, there are some definite eye-rolling moments.
Yeah.
Much of it is the dialogue, and some of the story is pretty basic. What I do like about Attack of the Clones, it does give McGregor's Obi-Wan Kenobi a kind of like this detective story to go off and figure out things about what's happening with this.
It just wasn't very interesting though.
It was still cool to see almost
him on his own though, doing his own thing.
Yeah, it was cool to see him on his own and figuring things out and following this trail of clues and eventually Dooku. But
Count Dracula.
A lot of the stuff on Geonosis, with especially the monsters, felt very Ray Harryhausen. Which is fine. I get it. You're paying homage to what inspired you in the first place.
Yeah.
So,
do you think fans want to create too much of the property as the way they see it? Because I was talking to Star Wars fans who are not open-minded at all about stuff. When I did the C2E2 video and I'm talking to the Star Wars fans, I said, well, who do you want to direct the new Star Wars movie, if you could choose? And they're like, George Lucas. I would just have a different writer. And I'm like, really? After all the shit you've given him for 15 years? It's if I had my choice, it would either be like Catherine Bigelow or Ryan Coogler, or, but...
Well, that's one of the reasons. First of all, there's no way, Catherine Bigelow would be interesting, but first of all, there's no way that Lucas would go back and direct it, let alone have somebody else.
After he called Disney white slavers.
With the prequels, he basically did everything. He did the screenplay. He was directing all three of them, which did not happen with the original trilogy.
Yeah.
He was involved in the overall.
And they're trying to recreate
story.
that with the new ones, different director, different screenplay.
Yeah.
Each time.
It was good to see Lawrence Kasdan, co-write a Force Awakens.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I mean, it's interesting to say, like, who would you want to direct it? It's like, I know a lot of directors who said, no, I'm not going to do Star Wars. And
Ron Howard, with even
well,
the prequels, like he offered it to Spielberg and Howard, they both said no.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, there's too much riding on. There's too much pressure.
Yeah.
And it's too much to live up to.
Yeah.
And how do you? That's why I'm really surprised that they even gave it to Rian Johnson, is because I'm glad they did, but I was really surprised that they gave it to him, because here's this kind of unknown writer-director.
Yeah.
But then again, so was Lucas at one point.
Yeah, it's kind of like you bless yourself, but you also curse yourself when you do a Star Wars film, because people always remember you.
It takes some balls to do it,
It does, yeah. I mean, JJ's doing it twice. He's like, you know what? I took the heat for Force Awakens, and I'll take the heat for this. So.
But JJ is like, you look at his movies before that, like Super 8 or even the Star Trek movies. He's good at kind of taking the atmosphere and feeling of what's kind of familiar. Yeah. Like when he did those Star Trek movies, a lot of people liked it just because it's you're revitalizing the
He's
Star
a
Trek.
retro guy. He did that with Mission Impossible.
Yeah.
He did that with Star Trek, and then he did that with Star Wars.
Well, even Super 8 was basically a Spielberg film.
Yes, it was.
But Abrams,
Close Encounters.
and Spielberg produced it. But Abrams, directed it in the kind of the vein of a Spielberg movie, and I don't see anything wrong with that. I think Abrams is really good at what he does.
Yeah.
So I think, I anticipate Rise of Skywalker to be overall satisfactory.
Yeah.
But not satisfactory, but satisfying.
Yeah. You'll get the angry Star Wars fans.
Of course, there's always going to be that.
You can't please them no matter what.
Yeah.
And I think it's not because they're trolls or anything like that. It's just because they went through what I went through with the prequels, where it's like they anticipated something for so long, and then they were let down. And it was probably the Phantom Menace was the most anticipated movie of all time.
Yeah.
And nothing will ever be more anticipated than it.
No.
And it's kind of like you repeat the same process again with the new sequel trilogy. So
I think
you have to take it with a grain of salt.
Right, but I think now there's more of a kind of like a Star Wars fatigue setting in, where a lot of people just don't care anymore.
Exactly.
And
that's why they're taking the hiatus.
Yeah. As a Star Wars fan, I remain hopeful.
Yeah.
That we're gonna get a nice ending to the whole Skywalker saga. But I'm glad they recently announced that there would be a hiatus after this movie.
Yeah.
They do need to rethink some things. Of course, we'll have the first live-action Star Wars TV series on Disney Plus this fall with Mandalorian.
Yep.
I did see some footage from that at Star Wars Celebration, and that looks really good.
I saw bootleg footage.
Yeah, I'm sure people were watching it bootleg footage on their phone.
Like, how many phones were up there when you?
No, they actually, while we were there, they had everybody turn off their phones.
Oh, they had comments.
Yeah,
Did they have them put them like in a bin or something?
No. Even Favreau, there was like heavy security for that panel presentation.
Yeah.
Even Favreau was saying, what we're about to show, cannot leave this room. There's security all over the place, so I'm going to give you a moment to turn off all your phones and security.
I wonder who the guy was who was filming it. Did they find him and beat the shit out of him?
There's no way of in that venue. It was an arena. There's no way of.
Was that the main floor, or was that like in?
That was at Wintrust Arena, which is right next to McCormick Place. So that's where the celebration stage was, where most of the big panels were. So, there was no way of getting around that. But I think, who knows? There's going to be fans who are going to nitpick The Mandalorian. That's just it's the nature of the beast.
But I think that's everything I have on my mind with Force Awakens.
Or you mean Phantom Menace?
Fuck it. And then with the Phantom Menace,
right.
And the first person who comments on this will get a copy of Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace.
Wow.
On the Sony PlayStation.
Wow.
Yeah.
Does that game go through the whole movie, or what?
Look at it's so clean too.
Wow.
Yeah.
So does it go through the whole story, or what?
Yeah, kind of.
That's hilarious.
Like you play
Do you play Jar Jar?
You don't play Jar Jar, but what you can do is you can go to the Gungan underworld and murder a bunch of Gungans as Obi-Wan.
Wow.
And you can also go into not Mos Eisley, it was Mos Espa as Qui-Gon Jinn, and then murder like a bunch of innocent people as Qui-Gon.
I don't think this episode of your podcast was therapeutic enough for you.
No,
Since you're focusing on murdering people.
No, it's just so weird. Like, how did the developers allow this in the game? If you want to see how fucked up this game can get, look up the cheat codes, go straight to the Maz Espa level.
Wow.
You can like take a lightsaber to Anakin's face.
It's all on YouTube. That's funny. So what about are you in the space battles at the end, or are you in the ship?
No, it's just all on foot with this horrible overhead view.
Oof.
Like if you see the pictures on here,
Okay.
it's just like it's just like
Oh yeah, it's like an overview.
And like you can't see too. I keep having to like double jump to see a few feet.
You know, Star Wars video games are much better now.
They are.
Oh, yeah.
Well, except for the Battlefront series. But
I have no problem with the Battlefront.
I don't know. I like the originals were way better because you could actually hop into a ship, like land somewhere and destroy shit, and then go back in the ship. But
this Jedi Fallen Order game coming out.
It should
in the
be
fall
cool.
Looks pretty cool.
Yeah, with the guy who played like the Joker in Gotham.
He's on Shameless too, and he did all the motion capture work for the game too.
Oh yeah,
so
that's
pretty cool. They've come a long way since PlayStation.
But we're getting detracted now. But
That's right.
Which was my fault. I brought it up. But anyways.
First comments.
Yeah. First comment of Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace, the game. I'll buy you a copy. No, I'll give you this one, and I'll buy myself a new one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's you can find it used somewhere.
Oh yeah. But thank you, David, so much for coming on. I'm gonna call my therapist after this. And then I want to make a quick announcement. You'll probably agree, officially has a website now. So YPA Reviews. The YPA stands for You'll Probably Agree. Then you can go there. You can see my written material.
Cool.
You can see the YouTube, like all the links to the YouTube channel shows and the podcast on there as well. So go check it out. Check out David Foley at keepingitreal.com.
Yep.
Real spelled REEL.
Yeah, keeping-it-real, REEL.com.
Yes.
David Foley, and my reviews are there. And yeah.
Yeah, and you can see also his coverage of Star Wars Celebration at RogerEbert.com.
Yep.
All right. But no, thank you so much, Dave, for coming on. Yeah, cheers.
Guinness and coffee.
Coffee. I'm an alcoholic. I always call this like cold coffee. But yeah. So,
does the job.
Yeah, thank you so much. That was the 20th anniversary of The Phantom Menace. And
we'll see you at the 40th.
Yeah, we'll see you at the 40th anniversary or the 20th anniversary of Attack of the Clones. So you'll probably agree.